to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
What's going on, guys? It is time for another review. January 8th. Let me tell you, first wrestling show for NXT in the new year. Last week was good. The award show, Dusty Classic teams announced. But it didn't feel like, it didn't feel like normal NXT. It was an award show. And, I said last week when I did the review that who watches award shows? To be honest, who does? I don't. I did, because I had to. But I'm excited to see some live wrestling tonight. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at the CO Place to Go. Same thing on Twitch at the CO Place to Go. I play some video games randomly, do some random talking. I'm thinking about adding a wrestling talk show on Twitch itself. We'll see how that goes. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff, to be quite honest. There's a lot of podcasts, but WWE Podcast is fantastic. It has quite a following. Appreciate everyone where you listen to us, wherever that is, whether it's, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, Speaker, any of the podcast apps. I've been listening to a lot more podcasts lately of the wrestling variety, of all kinds of varieties, but mainly of wrestling. And then, of course, the Steve Austin Broken Skull Sessions with The Undertaker, my favorite. And then, of course, there's Goldberg. Next one's going to be Kane. Very excited about that. But This Week in Wrestling, I might talk a little bit more about This Week in Wrestling than I have previously, just because there's a lot of stuff going on Raw. When I did the show last week, it was already after SmackDown, so we really don't have very much to talk about, but in terms of show volume. But what was on Raw was actually a lot, and I did watch a good portion of Raw. One thing I will say was the end of the match I thought was a little strange. Rey Mysterio, Andrade, it had Rey kind of stopping. Andrade picks up the win. Where do you go from here? What are some directions? Do you have a big send-off match? I know I've seen some people talking about you have a title versus career match. You have a hair versus mask match, which is very common in Mexican wrestling. Is that where the mask gets put to his son, which I see more symbolic than anything else, to be quite honest with you. But it was a strange match. I don't know where it's going to go. I think these guys have great chemistry. Love watching the matches. Could it be a passing of the torch? At WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, whenever they choose to have another match, a passing of the torch of the Mexican wrestling, like luchador, variety. Who knows? Lesnar enters the Rumble as number one. It's weird to me, at least. Was it a couple years ago when Roman Reigns entered? Was that last year? I don't even know at this point. It's, other than NXT, like I've said numerous times, I don't watch the product consistently on a Mondays, Friday night basis. Some of it's related to work. Some of it's related to not having, or, picking and choosing when I watch TV. And then some of it's just the product to me is at times awful. And it's been more of the third than the first. The second, I can always make time for wrestling. I do on a Wednesday night when I work, long day. I got to get up early on Thursday. Whereas Friday night, I have the night. I do got to work on Saturdays. Tuesday, same thing. Like Friday and Monday are actually more convenient for me, but it's just the product's bad. And so you got Lesnar entering the Rumble at number one. My immediate thought, he's going to get knocked out, taken out by somebody who will end up challenging for the belt. Now I'm going to name one person who I'd love to see, and no, it's not Edge. There's a small part of me that wants to see Edge come back, but I do not want to see him face Lesnar. Lesnar is a very stiff worker. His moveset is essentially German suplexes. For a guy with a neck injury, consistent German suplexes is probably the last possible thing you want to do, especially with a guy like Lesnar who has a tendency to throw people. Would I like to see Edge come back? Yeah, work a safe match with a veteran, that'd be great, but not, maybe with Cena. We've seen it numerous times. Orton, a guy like that, a guy who can work a great match, who can work a safe match. Safe is most important. But the one guy I would like to see is Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's talked a lot of crap on social media about Brock Lesnar, and I think a great setup would be him in the Rumble going against Matt Riddle. But you don't put it up for the belt, unless you're gonna bury Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's not going to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for a championship. I would love to see, maybe at a secondary pay-per-view at Elimination Chamber. What is after? Is it Elimination Chamber? I'm not sure what the one is in between. I'm going to look that up while I'm doing this. I'm going to take a look online for like the chronological order of WWE pay-per-views. Other than that, you have the Big Show returning. What is that? Like, he was on the first one of the 2000s, the first one of the 2010s. He's going to be in the first one of the 2020s. Now, I don't know. I love Big Show. Let me throw that out there first. I love the spectacle of a giant guy. I love the idea of the Big Show 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's insane saying that. I liked when he was the Giant in WCW. I think his entrance into WWE was fantastic. I just don't see where there is a place for the Big Show now, and that is no offense at all. Like, no offense at all. I do think that it is Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber and Fastlane are two that are between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, and I just really hope that there's not going to be two. Let me see where we're at. Let me see what it says for 2020 here. 2020, you have the Royal Rumble on the 26th, Worlds Collide on the 25th, TakeOver Blackpool, which I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I don't know if I'm going to cover that, because I'm going to be covering Worlds Collide. Just throwing that out there, 100% honesty. You got Royal Rumble on the 26th, February 16th, you got TakeOver Portland, 100% covering that, 100%. March 8th, Elimination Chamber. April 4th, TakeOver Tampa. April 5th, WrestleMania 36. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So you got Big Show returning. What is the thing? Is it a symbolic thing? I think so. There's nothing about Big Show to me that spells 2020s. I mean, who's he going to put over? He doesn't need to put over anybody. You got a guy maybe like a Big Show versus Keith Lee. That'd be fantastic. Just because I like Keith Lee. It's not fantastic because I want to see Big Show, but Keith Lee. I just think that, Big Show's time has come and gone. Next, you had the officiant who was tackled, which, it comes out that was a setup that was planned, not organic. Which, organic would have been a lot better, because you see a guy get tackled, guy runs to the ring, tackle him. Oh, wait, this guy's there. And I think about it, and, if it wasn't meant to be planned, like if it wasn't planned to happen, why do you have him in the stands? He's an actor. He's getting paid by you. Why is he not backstage going over, like, rehearsing the situation? That's spelled planned from the beginning. Definitely. It is what it is. And last thing, CM Punk, his reaction to Miz's comment about changing the culture and making fun of something. He said, dude, I love the Miz. Like, when talking smack, Miz and Daniel Bryan, that was some of the best TV wrestling wise that I've seen, not counting like some NXT stuff and some WrestleMania. I'll give WrestleMania its credit, War Games, things like that. But some of the best TV I've seen in WWE in quite a long time. You have the Miz saying that the Punk's reaction. I'm going to say this and just throwing it out there. I'm not going to say the F word, but Punk's reaction to the Miz: go suck a blood money covered penis. We'll say penis, politically correct, in Saudi Arabia. You effing dork. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I'm backstage. Is that show will work? I don't know. I don't know if it's planned or not. This tweet wasn't. Punk deleted it. Punk's not a guy. I don't look at him as a tool, which I think is fantastic. I think he's when I say company guy, and I'm going to catch heat for this, but when he's a company guy in the sense that he's getting paid by a company, he's not going to do something and get fired. But he's also not a tool, like I said, and I think he fully considers Miz a tool. Yes, man. But if you're getting paid as a wrestler, would I go to Saudi Arabia? The first time, yeah. The second time, probably. How many times have I been now? 3? Okay, so the fourth time when that comes up, if that's what it is, third or fourth, whatever's next. Am I going back? I don't know if I'm going back after the hostage situation. If I'm the Miz, we'll just throw the Miz. If I'm the Miz, do I go back? You got a family, you got 2 kids now, a wife, parents, maybe siblings. I don't know what's going on there. But do you go back and set yourself up in that situation again? I don't. Not at all. But if they throw that paycheck out there, it could be, what if it's WrestleMania-sized paycheck? Hell yeah, I'm going. Absolutely. Let's move on to our birthdays, and let's get into some of the NXT-specific stuff. Birthdays today, Bushwhacker Luke, half of the Bushwhackers. He's 73. They were originally known as the Sheepherders in NWA. He's semi-retired, and it blows my mind. I'm saying he's 73. He wrestled in 2018 at 71 years of age. He's still considered semi-retired. Blows my mind. Next birthday, Bad Luck Fale. The underboss of the Bullet Club, one of the main and longest lasting guys in the Bullet Club. To me, he's not an impressive wrestler, but his work as a second tier guy, behind your, I don't even want to say Kenny Omega, because Kenny Omega really didn't have him behind him. More of the Finn Balor, AJ Styles, that version of the Bullet Club. Next is Chris Masters. Only 37. Bad Luck Fale was 38, by the way. Chris Masters, 37. I'm surprised he's still as young as he is. He came in very young. Great build for WWE. Just kept getting busted for the wellness policy. Like, kind of a douchebag from what I've heard. He's wrestled in, I believe, Impact and New Japan since then. And lastly is Bull Nakano, 52 years old. Surprised she's still that young. And, it's funny, I say that on a 37-year-old and a 52-year-old. But I feel like she was around 30 years ago, which is quite possible. First women's match I ever saw on WWE was her in Alundra Blaze. She debuted as an associate of Luna Vachon. She was built different, than, not a Nia Jax type build, but still built a little bit different than a lot of the other women. Definitely post her. She's not a diva by any stretch. She was fired after being found in possession of cocaine, and she started golfing. I believe she made the LPGA, but started golfing, doing some women's golf. Good for her. Reinvent yourself. It's nice. They typically, older wrestlers, try to hang on to the glory days of wrestling, and she reinvented herself with a second career. Fantastic. Great for her. We'll go over what happened last week in NXT. Like I said, it was the year-end awards. You had a tag team of the year, the Undisputed Era, male competitor of the year, Adam Cole. He was also part of the rivalry of the year with Gargano and him. Female competitor of the year, Shayna Baszler. Future star of the year, Dakota Kai. I'm not huge on that pick. Takeover of the year, War Games, by far. I think without question, War Games. A very close second, I should say, second and third would be Toronto and Takeover New York. But I think War Games, just the concept alone and having the first women's War Games match, took that over. got the win. Breakout Star of the Year, Keith Lee. I think that one was by far as well. Match of the Year, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, 2 out of 3 falls match at TakeOver New York, which I thought would be the match that could surpass War Games. It did not. And then overall competitor of the year, Adam Cole, I think by a landslide. Shayna Baszler was awesome, but Adam Cole, what he did in the men's division this year, I think far surpasses anything else that anyone did. All right, the only other thing that happened last week was the Dusty Rhodes Classic. The teams were announced. You had from NXT Undisputed Era, Forgotten Sons, who finished second last year. Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, strange team. Kushida and a mystery partner who we find out who is tonight. And guess who called it last week? Me. It was a hope, but it ended up coming true. From NXT UK, you had the Grizzled Young Veterans, Gallus, Imperium, Webster, and Andrews. Like I look at Grizzled Young Veterans, I like that name. Imperium, knowing who they are, I like that. Gallus, I don't know a ton about them. Webster and Andrews, I don't know a ton about them. A lot of the NXT UK, their names and their gimmicks just, to me, are a little weak, but that's English wrestling. Who am I to judge, Who am I to judge? It's not my forte. Tonight, we had the first 2 matches. We had Gallus versus Undisputed Era, and we had Imperium versus Forgotten Sons. To me, that's huge. Gallus are the NXT UK tag champs. You have Undisputed Era, who are the NXT champions, tag team champions. One of them is going to knock each other out. I'm just surprised by the seeding. Imperium versus Forgotten Sons, big time tag team in the UK versus the runners up in last year's tag team classic. So that's big. But let's get to this week's show, and I'm gonna be honest with you. At the beginning of the show, I was hyped up. You got Rhea Ripley coming out right away, because the last episode you have of the year was her winning the belt. Then you go into an award show, and so it's been like 2 weeks. You got 2 full weeks where you can stew over the excited for Rhea Ripley, the reign of Ripley, the whatever you want to call it, her being the champion now. You got 2 weeks for that to fester. I still love it. I think it's fantastic. Let me get to that promo really quick. Then we'll dive back into the actual match. So Ripley comes out. She's, a lot of "you deserve a chance." She's thanking everybody. But right away, Toni Storm comes out and steals her thunder. Now, Toni Storm every time I say Toni Storm, I think of Tony Stark. I just recently watched Endgame again in an Infinity War again, and I just, every time I say Toni Storm, I think of Tony Stark. I'm thinking of Iron Man. In my mind, I say that name and boom, Iron Man pops up in my eyes. But Toni Storm beat Rhea Ripley earlier this year for the UK Women's title. She came out to kind of talk crap. Toni Storm is wrestling again for the Women's UK Championship at TakeOver Blackpool. She is facing, it's a triple threat match with Kaylee Ray, who was a champion, and Piper Niven. They're talking, and they basically said that she said that she's gonna win the women's title again on Sunday. Then at Worlds Collide, she's gonna become a double champion, and Rhea accepts. So now, is it going to be champion versus champion no matter what? Is it Toni Storm versus Rhea Ripley no matter what? I don't know. At that point, Kaylee Ray comes out, says Toni Storm's not going to take it. Io Shirai comes out, who I love. I love Io Shirai. Bianca Belair comes out. Candice LeRae comes out. And Rhea says that she wants a fight, so she takes it out of Bianca Belair. At this point, Steven Regal, my apologies, William Regal, comes out and books this as a six-woman tag match, which was our opening match, which wasn't too bad. You had a lot of everyone hit their moves. Kaylee Ray does some incredible moves. As does Toni Storm. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I'm not I wasn't too high on Toni Storm, just not knowing a ton about her, but I think she's been fantastic. Io Shirai was fantastic. As she goes up towards the end of the match, she goes up for a moonsault, which I'm going to be 100% honest with you, would have ended the match. Onto, I believe, Candice LeRae, I believe. You have Bianca Belair tags her as she's there, which kind of causes some heat between the two. Bianca tags her, and so Bianca goes for the KOD on Toni, but Io Shirai jumps up to the top rope, hits her with a nice drop kick, which bounces Toni Storm back. It was Toni Storm, not Candice LeRae. That's my fault. Bounces her back, which Rhea Ripley gets the tag, hits her with a big boot, nice drop kick, a couple knee strikes, I think, and Io left. She actually looked like she fell out of the ring as she got out. Looked like she landed weird. I didn't personally see her walk off. That they did not show that, at least from what I saw. Rhea Ripley hits a riptide and it ends it. Obviously, the face team, Candice LeRae, Rhea Ripley, and Toni Storm get the win. It was a good match to kick off the show. I give it a 3 out of 5. Majority of the matches that you're going to hear me say are about a 3 out of 5 on this night. It was a very... Now, I'm going to say it's very average. 3 out of 5 is average, but it was a above average show with no matches really, really standing out to me except for the main event. But there were a lot of good matches, like matches to see. I would say that every single match but one of them on here is one to see. And it ended up being a good match. And I'm going to be honest with you. You look at the people in this ring, including Kaylee Ray, I know she's in UK and Toni Storm, whatever. But this NXT women's roster is stacked, You don't even have someone who I think is going to be great, Shotzi Blackheart, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai. You don't have them in this match. Of course, you don't have Aaliyah. Aaliyah's absolutely fantastic and should be the next champion. It's unbelievable. I'm just so happy that she wasn't involved in this. But this just highlights how good the women's roster is. And the name I didn't mention was Shayna Baszler with the Horsewomen. Is Shayna Baszler, is she going to get a rematch? And is she done? Does she move up? Have the Horsewomen done everything they can in NXT? It is quite possible. Well, at least her. The other two are terrible, but it is what it is at that point. Our next match is going to be one of the first matches in the Dusty Rhodes Classic. It is Imperium versus Forgotten Sons. 100% honest with you in this match, it was strange to me. It got off really fast, kind of slowed down. There were a lot of good tag team moves. Imperium is very smooth. A lot of their moves, even solo. Their moves that they do individually, they're very fluid. There's not a lot of, and I think that is the English version of wrestling. Everything's very fluid, like it's very pronounced, if that makes sense. It's just very like it is done. I didn't think there was a lot shown from Forgotten Sons. There were a couple nice counters towards the end. Eichner and Barthel end up hitting a powerbomb diving European uppercut for the win. The uppercut off the top rope. Typical tag team move. Imperium got the win. They were the right team for the win. To me, this match, I'd give it about a 2 3/4 star, 2.5 out of 5. It was, to me, a little, I don't think chaotic is the right word. It was a little clustered. I like the word clustered. It's a little clustered for me, but hey, it is what it is. It gets the Dusty Road Classic going. Forgotten Son, second place team last year, out in the first round. Next match you have is Austin Theory and Joaquin Wilde. I don't know a lot about Joaquin Wilde. I know Austin Theory, fantastic indie wrestler, only 22 years old. He's been in wrestling for 4 years, young. The match he had with Roderick Strong to me, was fantastic. He was allowed to showcase who he was. Theory picked up his first win. WWE's wanted him, from what I read, for a long time. It was a very short match, less than 5 minutes. And, well, you know, Joaquin Wilde was a great person to have this match with, as their moveset really complements each other. He got a leaping TKO, so it's like a very, I don't want to say vicious looking or rugged version of the RKO, but that's essentially what it was. Austin Theory with the win. Excited to see him. 2.5 out of 5. Nothing special. Great to see Austin Theory wrestle. But the match itself wasn't something that actually, you know, truly stood out. And it was just like, oh, I'm going to watch NXT to see Austin Theory and Joaquin Wilde. I'm interested to, like, see what other people think about some of these matches. Like, I would love to debate somebody or talk to somebody about some of these matches. You know, I'm never going to, you know, play-by-play you on any of these, just because the reason I don't play-by-play on a lot of this stuff is because I want you to watch it. I don't think me giving you a play-by-play, you know, if that was me, I wouldn't watch the event. I want to watch the event. That's what makes wrestling fun to me. Wrestling's not something I can listen to the radio. Like, I can't listen to football as an adult now on the radio. I used to do it as a kid. It was fantastic. I'd put it on the backyard and I would try to emulate the plays. But, you know, without visually seeing it, I can't. So that's why I give you very few moves, give you a couple big things, a couple little weird things that might happen. But it's all about watching on TV. Like, you got to see it for yourself. Next match is Undisputed Era versus Gallus. Again, this is champion versus champion in this match. I don't personally know a lot about Gallus. I mean, it's who Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. I know Wolfgang. I don't know too much about Coffey. It was, you know, Gallus started off great. Undisputed Era, of course, had Adam Cole and Roderick Strong on the outside. It was, you know, Undisputed Era wasn't as, I don't feel like it was a typical Undisputed Era match. They did enough to win. Of course, Adam Cole interfered. You know, they hit up the high-low. Undisputed Era gets the victory. So you have one. Either way, a champion was going to be out. Undisputed Era goes on, which I think is fantastic. I don't think they should win. I think that they could take the loss and be fine. Whereas some of these other teams, you know, taking a loss could really, you know, throw them back in the division, to be quite honest with you. But classic Undisputed Era using the interference and things like that, which is, you know, it's okay for me. I don't really mind it. That is Undisputed Era. I'm used to their shenanigans. They get a win for me, 2.5 out of 5. It was an average at best match. Nothing fantastic. Next match is Mia Yim versus Kaden Carter. I said earlier that there was one match that, let's see, didn't match up with the rest, and this was it. I give it a 1.5 out of 5. Mia Yim gets the win. In this match, you get the NXT TV debut of Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green also is it was Robbie Strong, I think his name, Robert Strong. Looks kind of like an agent or a manager. It is the old Robbie E from Impact Wrestling. He is there. So looks like they've started a new stable. Kaden Carter has a lot of potential, but is still very green, in my opinion. You know, Kaden Carter's faced pretty much everyone in the women's division. I mean, with Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, obviously today Mia Yim. She has, you know, when Xia Li is someone I didn't mention with the stacked women's division. You've got a lot of people. The biggest takeaway for this match for me was Chelsea Green's NXT TV debut. Definitely looking forward to her being part of the division. And then who knows where this stable goes with Robert Stone. Who knows? You never know. Next match and final match of the card, you got your Fatal 4-Way for the new #1 contender for the NXT North American title. Damian Priest versus Keith Lee versus Deja Kovic versus Cameron Grimes. Now, classic Cameron Grimes at the beginning trash talking his opponents. Lee and Dijakovic did some work together, but then they ended up kind of, going against each other. One thing I will say is Cameron Grimes had a move, I would say at the end of this match, that to me was absolutely fantastic. I think Cameron Grimes really showed something in this match. He caught Keith Lee with the moonsault slam, which was, I think, fantastic. He somehow fights off Damian Priest after that, hits a moonsault on him. He hits Dijakovic with the cave-in on the apron, and as he goes up, Keith Lee destroys him and hits a spirit bomb for the win. Keith Lee with the big win. This was definitely a 3.5 out of 5 for me. Doesn't get a 4. Nothing on this card got a 4. This match, if you're going to watch one match from this card, this would be the match. I would have to say the women's match was probably the second best match on here. The tag matches were okay, so if you're in a tag, but this was by far the match. This was a great match to be main event. I'm glad they didn't run this first and do the classic promo at the beginning, set up match for later, like they do a lot. That's one thing I like about NXT. You come out, you talk trash, you get in a promo, you get in a match immediately. There's no, we'll see you for the main event. None of that stuff. Nobody has time for that. In this main event, I think Keith Lee was the obvious correct winner. He pinned Roderick Strong previously, and I think just winning this here, it is a secondary belt, but I think Keith Lee needs to have a belt, or at least the ability to get the belt. Everyone looked good. I would say the next best was Cameron Grimes. Dijakovic to me is kind of fallen off, and I talked about that last week and the week before. Since SummerSlam, I feel since Survivor Series, I feel like he's kind of fallen apart. But Cameron Grimes looked fantastic, especially towards the end. And Keith Lee, of course, is Keith Lee. I cannot praise him enough. So what stood out match-wise? Obviously, the Fatal 4-Way match. Like I said, fantastic, best match on the show. For me, it was just, you look at these guys, and again, not putting down Dijakovic, but you look at the other three guys, and it's like, I would love to see every one of them with some type of belt sometime, but you don't want a revolving door for a belt. Where's the Velveteen Dream? Where's he at? He was a great North American champion, at least in my opinion, I thought he was. You don't want a revolving door with belts. To me, that takes away the prestige of a belt if you're quick to win, quick to lose. But I thought that match was fantastic. Obviously, the women's tag match, I thought, set up a lot. And the Dusty Rhodes Classic matches, it was what they were supposed to be. Little disappointed in seeing in round 1-2 champions face each other because it knocks one out, but I think it did the job for what it needed to do. We already talked about the promo that Rhea Ripley, Toni Storm had earlier, and everybody else for that matter that set up the match. Next big promo was Johnny Gargano. He came out and, he had something funny in here from Finn Balor, but Gargano came out. He talked about Finn Balor cost him a takeover, how Finn's past is his future, and his future is him, Johnny Gargano, because he couldn't get the job done the first time. He called out saying that he's the flag bearer in NXT, but yet he's headed to the main roster, while supposedly Johnny Gargano turned it down a few months back, which I remember the talk about Gargano going up for 205 Live, and if I'm certain he did have at least a match on a SmackDown or a 205 Live. Gargano made fun of and mocked Finn's extraordinary comment and how he took NXT to the next level without Finn Balor. Balor came out and interrupted, saying, hey, he should be Johnny Promo, because that's always been cleared for, which to me was the line of the night. Finn says he makes the calls and he'll take him out of Portland if Johnny can make it that far. So we're setting up for a I don't want to say a big, but takeover Portland. Looks fantastic. You're going to have Gargano, Balor, I would assume Ciampa, Cole. Who knows what the match is going to be for the North American Championship. There's just going to be, it could potentially be all championship matches, which is fantastic, which I think championships should be defended on every pay-per-view. So now let's look, where do we go from here? Next week you have your next two matches in the Dusty Classic. You have Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews versus Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. Again, like I was saying, odd tag team. Let's see where it goes. Matt Riddle came out today and said that the Broserweights. I'll play off his bro and Pete Dunne's Bruiserweights. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. See the chemistry there. Then you have the Grizzled Young Vets versus Kushida and his mystery partner, who I said last week would be Alex Shelley, and it is in fact Alex Shelley. The Time Splitter tag team is back. I think that's going to be fantastic. I want to see Kushida and Alex Shelley in the final. Do I think they win? I don't, but I think they make it to the finals. I really think they do. I could see them facing Imperium in that final. And who knows? Who knows where we go? Like the Dusty Rhodes Classic to me is completely up in the air this year. You never know. Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they win. Winner of Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews and Riddle and Dunne face Imperium in the second round. So either way, it's looks down for them. In 2 weeks, you will have your North American Championship match, Roderick Strong versus Keith Lee. That is on the 22nd of January. So in 2 weeks. So next week you've got, I believe all they announced were these two matches, and then you have North American Championship in 2 weeks. That's going to be all for the show today. Appreciate you sticking with me the last few weeks, just being late on the shows coming out. With the holidays, I just took some time to myself to kind of, I don't want to say reflect, but have some family and friend time and just kind of take a break and push wrestling back just a little bit and do the things that are important during the holidays. But I am back on the 8th with a show 3 hours after the show ends. Fantastic. Please feel free to reach out on Twitter at TheCO Place to Go, TheCO Place to Go. I would love to hear some questions, comments. I would love to debate. I would love to talk. Hopefully one of the next few weeks I can get on a show with somebody else. I would love that. That would be fantastic. Hope to hear from everybody, and I cannot wait for next week as this Dusty Rhodes Classic continues.